Today I fucked up by looking at my mom's package. I, 34 per meter, frequently order stuff online. We have a post office here in town where we get our mail. Sometimes when ordering online they won't ship to a P.O. box, so you have to put a physical address. Well, the USPS does not recognize my address, but they recognize my mom's, 68, F. So I just put her physical address. She lives close by, so if UPS or FedEx ends up bringing it, easy for me to go get. I often use autofill when ordering, and in the past I have clicked on her address but it filled in with her name. Today is where my fuck up happens. I stop at the post office. Check my mail. Then I go over to her box and check her mail so I can drop it off. There's a yellow slip in there to let me know there's a package. So I go to the window and get the package. I look at it, it's addressed to my mom. She only orders from Sam's Club and FedEx brings that to her house. I was expecting a package, so I assume I auto-filled with her name. So I walk out of the post office and get in my truck. I open it to make sure it was what I was expecting, which was attachments for my boat. What I see when I open the package is not 1, 2 or 3 but 4 vibrators. Oh fuck. I message my wife to tell her this fuck up because I know she would get a kick out of it. She loses her shit laughing at me. I go home and hunt for the tape to tape it back up. Go to mom's to drop the package with her mail on top. Is everything for me? She asked. I replied, yup, and left. TLDR. Was expecting parts for my boat, and when I got the package, saw my mom's name on it and thought I put the wrong name. Opened it to find she had ordered 4 vibrators. You took your mom's package, destined for your mom's package. I can see her using 3 at once, but where does the 4th go? Have faith. Maybe she's planning on giving them to other family members for Christmas. How big were they? Your mama still has needs. She ain't dead yet, but apparently is horny. Don't check her browser history. And this is why we don't open mail that has someone else's name on it. Today I fucked up by lying about my qualifications in a job interview. Background. I got a computer science degree from one of the most renowned schools in the US. Not only did I graduate, but I got a 4.0. However, I actually can't code at all without using Google. For instance, I do not know how to create a single executable program in any coding language without help from Google. I also don't know much programming terminology without looking up what the terms mean. I was only able to get through school with a lot of help from Google and by having a near photographic short-term memory. I also worked a pretty decent internship and made some impressive projects, all with the help of Google. And #X200B. Today I had an interview with a large tech company, and I could not answer any of their technical questions or complete any of their coding challenges. One of the people conducting the interview appeared frustrated and started berating me, and told me that it's obvious I lied about my education and that I can't get a job through lying since companies will contact the school for my transcripts. I told him I wasn't lying, but he was not convinced. And #X200B. Too long did not read. I did so poorly in an interview that I was told it obvious I was lying about the education that I 100% did receive. To be honest, you sound perfectly educated for a management position. All developers use Google every now and then. It's almost impossible for a person to remember the syntax for multiple languages all the time. But if you should be comfortable in at least one language and are expected to be able to solve most problems using that particular language. If not the language, then you should be able to write them an algorithm or draw a flowchart of how to solve that problem. I'd suggest you start learning now. Loads of people start programming in their late 30s. It's never too late to start. How exactly does one graduate from one of the most renowned schools in the country with a 4.0 and know nothing about the degree they have? I mean, yeah, people use Google for things in a lot of fields during college, but did absolutely nothing stick? Colleges will sell you a degree. They'll throw in an education for no extra charge, if you want it. But a lot of people don't want it. I don't think you were telling lies. From looking at modern curriculums for computer science degrees, it is clear that most don't focus on actually doing software development. I went back to school after decades of development experience and I got a bullshit degree in software development, and I only had to take a handful of classes where I actually wrote code, and the code I had to write for those classes was fairly boilerplate. I didn't have to do any complex design or complex coding to make it through those classes. Getting a degree is great, but you also have to learn to code, and I don't feel like most current programs teach you to code. I don't believe you. I have a computer science degree from a not very prestigious school, and I still had multiple professors that were actively trying to filter out people that were getting by on memorization and didn't really understand the material. You can definitely get a CS degree without being able to program much. I knew guys like that. You can even have a great GPA without being a great programmer. I knew guys like that. But making it through 4 years without a single professor throwing in a random twist on a final or midterm and forcing you to prove that you can understand and solve programming problems on the fly is far-fetched. Today I fucked up by ignoring chest pain and having a collapsed lung. Twice. This today I fucked up started about 12 years ago when I was 31 yo. I was a cigarette smoker for 14 years prior to that. Quit about 2 years earlier. And a daily weed smoker for almost as long and still smoking. One day on my way to work I started having some chest pain on my left side, which then turned into some trouble breathing. I felt as if I could only take little half breaths. Anything past halfway caused a sharp pain in my chest. Ah well, I thought, and just kept right on. I had recently started dating this girl who was finishing up medical school, and I was embarrassed to say anything to her about thr pain, so I never said anything. This went on for about a week, and then one day it just felt better. Fast forward 5 years and me and the med student are married and just moved into a new house. We invited some friends over for dinner and I was cooking butternut squash risotto, which I cooked often. After peeling and cutting the squash, my hands becks me very tight, like they were covered in some sort of glue or something. Never felt that before when cutting squash. Didn't think anything of it. Washed my hands and then we all ate dinner. Couldn't completely get rid of that feeling on my hands. Later that night I get that same chest pain from years earlier. Over the next 2 days it gets worse and I began coughing and wheezing a bit, especially when going up the stairs. My wife suggested I see a doctor. Maybe I had pneumonia or something, but no, I'm a man, don't need the doctor. 3 days later I noticed after a short 15-minute walk with my dogs that I was weirdly out of breath. The left side chest pain is getting worse. So I think y'all go to the store and get some aspirin, maybe I'm having a heart attack. I banged my chest a bit, don't know why, and it hurt. Aspirin did nothing. Next day I'm on my way to work. I park my car and walk the usual 5 minutes walk, but I swear that at that moment if my life depended on running away from something I'd be dead. I couldn't take more than 5 steps without feeling completely exhausted and out of breath. Called my wife, who suggested I go to the hospital, but I suggested I go see her dad Fert, who's a cardiologist and as close as the hospital. He does a bunch of tests, and when his tech was trying to do an echo on my chest she was having trouble finding way she needed to. So he sent me down for a chest x-ray. I've never seen him move that fast. Told me my left lung was 90% collapsed, called a pneumothorax. He's 72 years old and 250 pounds and he ran to his car to take me to the hospital. Chest tube later and everything is fine. Spontaneous pneumothorax. They can happen again within 5 years or so and sometimes self-heal, they tell me. It hits me 4 years earlier must have been the same thing that I ignored. Don't ignore weird pains with your body. Go see a doctor. TLDR. Ignored chest pain on 2 occasions 4 years apart and had one of my lungs collapse. So I think y'all go to the store and get some aspirin, maybe I'm having a heart attack. What? You are aware that a heart attack is an urgent medical emergency, right? It's maybe worth taking some aspirin while you wait for the ambulance, if you have any on hand, but on its own it isn't going to do jack shit or stop you from dying. I'm the opposite extreme. I've been to the ER 3 times in the last 8–10 years for what ended up basically being acid reflux. Somewhere between us there's a happy medium. I couldn't breathe, thought it was COVID for 3 weeks. Went to DRS when tests were always negative. After scans it was found I had blood clots all over my lungs and a pint of fluid around my lungs and heart. Was then diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer at 26. Anyway, moral of the story: always get your lungs checked. If you can't breathe, don't wait. I had real bad back pain and I normally don't have back pain. The pain migrated to the front. Doctor's nurse said to go to Ed. Good thing I did because I had bilateral pulmonary embolisms and a partially collapsed lung. Spent 1 day in the hospital and 6 months on blood thinners. If I had waited to come in I would have been dead. Your father-in-law is a cardiologist, yet when you think you could be having a heart attack, you go to the drugstore to buy aspirin? Dude. Coming from a traditionally Mexican background, I understand your level of machismo towards pain. However, you have a wife now who deserves to have you around long enough to see your life blossom together. You gotta start taking better care of yourself, man, for her sake. So I think y'all go to the store and get some aspirin, maybe I'm having a heart attack. Tell me you're American, without telling me you're American.